A woman named Brenner, who has been trained as a top-tier soldier, is traveling with her husband, Dylan, who is a police officer. They are on their way to a vacation spot when a man in a truck comes by.
Come on, honey! Come on and marry me!
He makes some inappropriate remarks about Brenner and then aggressively passes them. Later, they stop at a restaurant to clean up, and while Dylan is in the restroom, Brenner chooses to sit at an outdoor table. At that moment, the same man from the truck returns and begins to harass Brenner. This time, he gets too close.
Your name's Butch?
And his name is Butch. Dylan exits the restroom, and they have a heated exchange. Suddenly, an older woman from the restaurant intervenes, separating the two men. She then advises the couple that the locals are not accustomed to seeing such a charming pair and apologizes on Butch's behalf. Dylan thanks the woman, but she insists he also calls her mother, as it's customary after a meal at a restaurant. The couple then sets off in search of a good spot in the forest to camp for the night as they get comfortable. A female police officer shows up and starts chatting with Brenner. She cautions that the locals can be a bit strange and not very friendly to strangers. Thankful for the officer's warning, they decide to go for a hike after she leaves. As they stroll, Dylan asks his wife if they should head left or right.
Left?
Brenner tells him to go left, and as they move in that direction, it starts to rain. Suddenly, they stumble upon a cabin and decide to go inside to wait for the rain to pass, enjoying the romantic weather they find inside, before Brenner starts looking around. When she walks into another room, she discovers a secret compartment and finds a large stash of ammunition. She's filled with fear. She immediately calls Dylan to check what is outside. Dylan shares her fear, and they agree it's time to get out right away. Just as they're about to leave, Butch comes from behind and hits them both with the end of his gun. In the next scene, they find themselves tied up in a room where Butch continues to severely beat Dylan. While he's being tortured, they make their wife watch as he inflicts mental anguish on her. Later, one of Butch's men comes in and tells him the person he's torturing is actually a police officer. Butch freaks out for a bit before entering the room. He tells Dylan he had no idea he was a cop and says he's sorry for everything. He then takes out his gun and shoots both of them. He tells his men to get rid of the bodies by burying them in a deep hole. We then go back to a flashback where Brenner is shown undergoing training as an officer, showing she's not your average woman. Afterward, we come back to the present where Brenner wakes up after everyone has left. It's revealed that the bullets didn't actually kill her. She immediately checks on her husband, who's already dead, and covers his body with branches. She heads back to their camp, grieving over her deceased husband. She feels guilty for his passing, remembering that it was her idea to take the left path, which ended up being a deadly error. As she remembers her real self, she resolves to seek revenge for her husband's demise. She quickly picks up an axe and begins her journey. At the same time, we observe Butch making his way back to his mother's home. Butch persistently takes her from behind and kisses her without her consent. The locals are wary of Butch and his offspring, suspecting them of kidnapping these women and subjecting them to their whims. In the midst of this, Mom steps forward, urging Butch to eat quickly as she has a task for him. Meanwhile, Brenner skillfully creates a highly effective weapon from wood and swiftly dispatches one of Butch's men. Nonetheless, it's evident she's not happy about the situation. Following the murder and disposal of the victim's body, she vanishes into the forest. A few moments later, she confronts another individual and proceeds to mutilate another's leg. However, instead of killing him, she observes as he manages to escape, saving his own life from her actions. Brenner then sets fire to Butch's essential cabin, leading to a large explosion. This is where we meet Sheriff Hobbs, who is armed and trying to determine the source of the explosion. Meanwhile, Mom and Butch also hear the blast. Butch notices smoke coming from his cabin, causing him to feel a bit scared. Mom immediately instructs Butch to investigate. As Butch makes his way into the forest, he comes across a friend who is injured and has been attacked by Brenner. He quickly places him in the truck and drives off. Later, we see Brenner unconscious at the back of his truck. Upon Butch's return to Mom, he shares the devastating news that several of their people have been killed. Mom is enraged with Butch. She expresses her anger at him, even slapping him for putting them in this situation. She then commands him to seek out the outsiders. It's later revealed that Mom has an extensive network and is well connected. She approaches one of her eccentric acquaintances, instructing him to investigate the profile of a woman, and as Mom discovers that Brenner is not a typical woman, but has a military background, she is taken aback. At the same time, Sheriff Hobbs enters the forest, finds the corpse of one of Butch's men, and immediately contacts the command center to report the discovery. Meanwhile, Brenner is readying herself in the forest, devising traps for those hiding there. Sheriff Hobbs' team arrives at the scene, where he identifies the deceased as one of Mom's associates. He then discloses that Mom has complete control over the forest. Meanwhile, a woman working at the command center informs Mom that Sheriff Hobbs is approaching her. It is revealed that this woman is also employed by Mom. The sheriff and his team proceed to confront Mom, informing her of the bodies they have uncovered in the forest. Mom does not reveal any information about her associates facing difficulties in the forest. She also does not show any signs of being a victim of an attack on her men. The sheriff is obviously aware that she's making up stories, but remains silent and exits with his team. That evening, Mother and her kids grieve for their departed friend. They become intoxicated and pass out. Butch awakens, but he's too intoxicated to move. He enters the room and finds Brenner already there, waiting for him. She swiftly cuts his throat in revenge for her husband. She observes as he fights for his life, eventually succumbing to his injuries. The following morning, Brenner is still concealed in the room when one of Mom's men brings a girl inside and secures her. Brenner notices that she's not alone. Several other girls are also confined. Feeling empathy for these girls, Brenner decides to aid them in their escape. She manages to infiltrate the room and liberate the girls. They're too frightened to leave, and eventually, one girl's cry catches the attention of a man armed with a gun who starts firing at them. Brenner then sets off into the woods with a girl named Emily. Meanwhile, Mom discovers that Butch has been killed and that all the girls have managed to escape. Overwhelmed by the news of her son's demise, Mom loses control. She instructs her men to locate the woman and bring her back. She commands them to round up all the men and dogs and begin the search for the woman in the woods. One of Mom's men discovers Brenner's secret spot, but falls victim to a trap she had laid. Another man shows up and Brenner swiftly kills him. That night, Brenner and Emily spend time together, talking and enjoying each other's company. Emily mentions her pregnancy, but also expresses her fear of death. She's aware that if Mom finds her, she's not sure what will happen to her, but Brenner comforted her, promising to protect her. At the same time, Mom's special operative goes into the woods with his dogs to find Brenner. The following morning, they manage to capture Emily, but Brenner arrives just in time to rescue her. Meanwhile, Sheriff Hobbs arrives, and one of the operative's men shoots Hobbs in the leg, but Brenner quickly identifies him and kills him. Brenner and Emily then assist Hobbs to a secure location. Brenner informs the sheriff that they need to divert their attention elsewhere. Otherwise, they will continue to appear at this spot, making it increasingly challenging to handle them. They then decide to leave the hideout. At this point, Emily and Brenner continue their journey along the river, and by chance cross paths with the same female police officer who had previously warned Brenner and her spouse about the location they were headed to and requested her assistance. She instructs them to get into her vehicle. Overwhelmed, they immediately fall asleep. However, upon awakening, they find themselves trapped by the mother and her men. It's revealed that the female police officer had been employed by the mother all along. They begin to subject them to torture. Emily informs the mother that she is expecting a child with Butch. Upon learning this, the mother orders her men to take Emily to a different area while Brenner is bound and gagged in a room set up for torture. Emily manages to sneak in some food, but in the process, frees Brenner from her restraints. She then enters the room where all of the mother's men are present, initiating a fight. Brenner begins to defeat them one by one. Meanwhile, the mother threatens Emily with a knife, demanding Brenner to surrender her weapon during the standoff. A man attacks Brenner from behind, and the mother fatally stabs Emily before fleeing. Brenner continues to fight back, eventually defeating the remaining men. The narrative then shifts to 3 months later, with the mother sitting in her garden when she receives a message about Judgment Day. At that moment, she is shot in the head. The story then follows Brenner, who is now hidden in the forest, seeking revenge for her husband. Brenner walks away, and the film concludes.